go, the Mississippi Queen. Let's kick it. Yeah, I'm gonna go for dinner. I gotta get some of this. And I didn't realize how ripped off I was getting on it until I noticed it in Walmart the other day. You'd think gas stations, they'd mark it up a little bit. Convenience, yeah, that's okay. I get that, no problem. Yeah, they mark it up all right, 40 to 50%. Bullshit. Yeah, Finch, actually, I didn't want to put it in YouTube because you never know with these crazy people. But the bee, that it actually got stuck in some honey that I put out for the bees. You believe that? Marty had put some food on the rail, because was raining so hard. And shit, I didn't even think that was possible. I thought it was a dead mouse. And I got up, I was like, God, this is a bird. So I gave it a bath and blow dry it. But I'm afraid to put a video on there now. God knows, another strike and a week off. These crazy YouTube people. Hey, Lucid. Yeah, that's what it was. It was honey, though. It came off really easy. All I needed was warm water for honey, which was no problem. He took off. It was kind of cute. He was biting me the whole time. I think he thought his life. I'll tell you what was surprising to me is with warm water and Dawn, that doesn't hurt their eyes or anything. That's what they use when those seals and birds get caught in oil. What surprised me is how long it took to dry them off, considering they're flying around when it's raining. Yeah, especially the breast feathers, those real fine feathers. And when they're wet, you just move them apart a little bit, and there's that, well, because of hypothermia. So I wanted to make sure I really got them good and dry. And you saw them take off. Yeah, it was really no big deal. Felt bad for the little thing. It was weird though. Once you get stuck in that honey, usually you're stuck and that's it. But he got stuck. It almost looked like he did, like he twisted around in it, which he couldn't have done. But he had honey everywhere. He might have flew himself out halfway, and that's how the other side got stuck. And you look at their little spindly legs and stuff. You wonder how those things survive. I mean, there's so little heart beating, little lungs. It's crazy. This guy got a big, some kind of. Not really. Not really. It does under certain circumstances, but he wouldn't have been able to fly if I'd have just gave him a bath. Yeah, he did. He was chirping when I first grabbed him, too. Yeah, I thought this ought to be easy, just like mice. They get wet, they take baths, but there's something with that bath they take compared to like the kind I gave them. I don't know whether when they're flipping their wings, it doesn't like get up there like it would if they were soaked under a spigot, but it's not the same kind of wet. If I'd have just bathed him and let him in my hand, he wasn't flying anywhere. Those feathers were soaked. Yeah, he took off just fine. Yeah, we get them a full immersion in the bird bath. They go right in there, jump right in, splash around. But when they're splashing, there must be the way they've evolved. That's why they're always flexing their wings. And water can't get everywhere it gets when you immerse them like I did. Just no way. There's no way that bird was flying anywhere. I see him out there doing it in the summertime. And I see him flying around in the rain when it's pouring. Yeah, it didn't make sense to me that those feathers were that wet. Yeah, a new male was trying to screw her this morning when she didn't have anything to do with it. And the other male was sitting right next to her, just like he wasn't doing anything about it, but it wasn't happening. I got an idea if the female isn't cooperative, you can forget it. They make that hissing noise and make lunges and stuff. They did it last year. I looked it up. That's what it is. Mating call. Those vultures have been super hungry, and they went through a ton of food today. But these little like songbirds and stuff, that's not like the oil that's on feathers for like ducks and geese. I don't quite get it. My guess would be that they can get water okay from the top down gravity, but from the bottom up, if they're not flapping those wings, it's like not good. Yeah, I can get about 10 feet from them, yeah. I gotta get some video of that. I haven't done it yet. But I can get about 10 feet from them. You'll never get that close to them in the wild, like today. It's cute. They look down at me, like they're looking straight down when they're sitting on those branches. And but I've done this with other animals before, mainly deer and I've read articles and books about it. At imprinting, it's different when they get used to a particular person. That's different than imprinting. They don't lose their fear of people by one person doing that kind of stuff, or I wouldn't do it. Now, if you notice, I stayed out of the old house because I didn't want those chicks thinking it was okay. And I never left food around there. I just went in there, got a little video, and got the hell out. And those little chicks, when they were 2 days old, would hiss at me, and which is good. I don't want them to be like that friendly. It's supposed to rain like hell tomorrow. Big thunderstorms. I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I worked at a rehab thing before, and I mean, everything I've read, experienced, I think these animals that are like bald eagles with a missing wing, and they take them into a place so kids can see what bald eagle likes. I think they'd be better off dead. These displays, and they use this excuse for educational purposes. You don't need to see anything in a cage anymore to know everything about it. Just go on the internet. Same with zoos. It's bullshit. I think the same way about aquariums. I'd love a nice aquarium. I love birds, but I don't want to keep them in cages. And only a human would think that they know what a bird's thinking. They'll tell these stories. Yeah, he got his wing taken off, but he's such a good steward for other bald eagles, and you can see their beauty. Yeah, it's all bullshit. That bird can't do any of the things associated with being born a bald eagle, except sit in this stupid cage and look out at stupid people. Sad. Be better off dead. Same with fish in an aquarium. If you know anything about pH levels, you can really appreciate wild. That's why it's such a travesty when humans pollute natural water tables with their bullshit. Because it's just like a natural phenomenon, the way it maintains itself. All you got to do is have an aquarium and try and maintain the pH level. And you'll find out in no time it's not easy. And I just don't feel like, juggling with a fish's life with water changes, and that's stressful and all this other bullshit. Also, I can look at him while I'm laying in bed. It's nonsense. Yeah, I've had aquariums in the past too. I raised bred koi for a while. I also hit the do not disturb button on this phone. I'm curious if I get a call, it works. Yeah, that's like 80 years old. Those were the kind that shopping malls had custom made for window displays. Those people have had that for over 30 years. It was from a Northwest Indiana mall that folded. That shit's expensive too. That one was a steal at $1,000. And the reason it's 1,000 is because unless you happen to live close next to someone that wants one, you can forget about shipping one of those. So I was there anyway for snow babies. I kind of had to talk her into the Santa actually. It's like, hey, I'm up there. It's a good deal. I got a trailer. Get it. For the Mississippi Queen. Wango Tango. Wango Tango. Wango Tango to get some of this deaf. Or you can only do 50 in this thing. Wouldn't that be fun? I only got 30 miles, 22 miles to go too before it starts doing that bullshit. I don't know if it really does or not, but it threatens to. For the Mississippi Queen. Do 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 do. You know what I mean. Do 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 do. For the Mississippi Queen. Oh, I'll be right out in a little bit. I got Daisy with me. She's been doing that reverse sneezing a lot. I'll be right back, hon. You guard the truck. You a good girl. You a good baby, honey. You a good girl, hon. You a good girl, honey. Good girl, hon, watching the truck. Thank you. Thank you, honey. Thank you, honey. Thank you, girl. Good girl. I just looked on the internet. I was thinking about going down to Florida for a couple days. Come on, get the fuck out of there, you dumb bitch. Can't you see me pulling out? Cutting across parking lots. Okay, all right, good girl. Let's kick it, you know what I'm saying? Let's just kick it. I like these yield signs, so you don't need to stop all the way. Guy's got no tail lights. Barely lit. Bet he's got an alternator going. This may just be all reflection. May not be lit at all. Got brake lights. Yeah, they're barely lit. was 951 miles from West Branch to Crawfordville. It's the same distance going through Atlanta as it was cutting back the other way. Maybe a little longer. Fuck yeah, I drink it. There's no way I'd make those trips. 3 small energy drinks, the small one, the 0 calorie, and 2 large coffees. Yeah, there's absolutely no way I could do those trips. In a perfect scenario, the way I prefer to do it that works out good is I try and get as good a night's sleep as possible. I've found that I'm better off sleeping in and driving late than getting up early. So what I do is I try to sleep in, get as much sleep as I can, get up and hit the road, and drink my normal morning coffee. And presumably I'm on the road by around 10, 9. So drive for 14 hours to like midnight and have my first coffee. And usually that'll get me by. But this is probably the worst trip, this last one I took, in a long time. I knew I was in trouble. I did physical work all day. Didn't get a very good night of sleep the night before. Was leaving under stressful conditions, bad weather, the road had been closed. So I knew I was going to get it broke off my ass either way. So on that trip, I drank a coffee at 10, another one at 12, an energy at 1, an energy drink at 2, another large coffee at 3, and one more energy drink around noon. So I actually had 4 energy drinks. Or there's no way I would have eliminated it. And even when you're jacked up that much, I still took 1 hour naps 3 times. And that's with those 2. So between the 3-hour naps and that much caffeine I was able to make, it was 21 hours, which took forever. It was about 6 hours longer than it should have taken because of mainly winter weather in Michigan. But it was also raining, dark, and super windy up until about 100 miles south of Lexington, which is halfway for me. So anyway, you could have made it a bad trip. And I had a leaky tire on the trailer. Any way you could have made it a bad trip, it made it that way. But yeah, the energy drinks. Now here's the thing about that: you got to be careful for it. When you're loading up on caffeine like that, this is just me, but I have to be careful. I don't want to be like jacked up on caffeine big time, behind on my sleep, and hitting like crazy demanding traffic like Cincinnati or Atlanta. I mean, as much as you hate to like admit it, especially when you get older, your reactions are slow. You don't notice it just going to A to B like right now. It's just like I say flying airplanes. People say, "Do you still fly a plane?" Yeah, I've been current probably 20 years. But I'm sure I could get in an airplane tomorrow morning, start it up, take off, and fly to wherever. No problem. The problem would be is when something started to go. I'm behind on that stuff, emergency procedures. I haven't practiced engine outs. I don't know the emergency button to push on a GPS or an RNAV approach. So, it's like, wow, you haven't lost a lick. It's been 20 years? You're kidding me. Doesn't mean squat on a nice day with no demanding conditions and no stress. But you put me in a situation where something goes wrong or the weather goes down, now you're going to see how far behind you are. And driving's like that too. You don't really realize it when you're that exhausted on your diminishing reaction times. You'd be driving down the road like this. It's like, God, what is that, a 747 that's about ready to hit me head on? Then you realize it's just kind of like a sign on the other side of the road that's reflecting. You start like seeing stupid shit. It's your, brain. Your eyes are an extension of your brain, and that's your brain exhausted. Yeah, but I'm careful about it. I mean, I'm careful about that. It doesn't get me to where like, I'm going to have a panic attack or anything, but I definitely tried to avoid feeling that way. I can remember one time. There's a place called Red Lodge. It's the southeast entrance to Yellowstone. And shit, there you can get snowed in there in June and September. Actually, when I was out there 3 years ago, last September, I wanted to come back through there. Beartooth Pass, look it up. Even Charles Corral said it was the most fantastic place he'd ever seen in his life as a drive, and it's really spectacular. I don't think it's marketed as much because everybody wants you to go to Yellowstone, right? But man, I'll tell you, that is one spectacular drive. And I went out there one time, and it's like sheer drop-offs. I mean, you look like you're like gonna like, if you'd like hit the gas instead of the brake, they'd never see you again. I mean, it's really like that. And I remember going through there one time because the roads were going to be icy, and I hadn't had much sleep, but I wanted to get through there while the road was open so I could get to Yellowstone. And I jacked myself up on, coffees. And I remember when I was getting into those roads, it's like, God damn, I don't know about this, man. I was like kind of nervous. It's like, shit. Normally it wouldn't have phased me. But it's like drinking all that caffeine, and now you're under like stress, and you start thinking this crazy shit on this narrow road. What if somebody rear-ended me? You start thinking crazy. And I remember, like, I don't think that, I know people that happens to, flying airplanes, drinking coffee. And I know people that will cut down on their caffeine if they've got to drive across the Mackinac Bridge in high, windy, snowy conditions. So yeah, I'm careful about it under certain scenarios. If I was getting in an airplane, if you told me tomorrow, like, we're supposed to have bad weather, I like flying in weather if I have the right equipment. If I don't, I'm a nervous wreck like everybody else. I was pulling a trailer Tuesday. Then if I had a job, I would have said I can't come there today, up tomorrow when the roads are clear. But I had a time deadline. I had to get the hell out of there, so I did it. I don't think it's a death wish, but the safety changes under those conditions. If you go up where I was under those conditions, I guarantee you, in the course of a day or two, if the roads stay like that, you're going to see guys with 10 times the experience as me in the ditch, the trailer jackknife, the trailer packed past the truck, and it's all from not knowing your equipment, not setting the brake tension right. And I wouldn't say I'm that, but kind of a novice, and that's also part of the reason why I drove so slow. I just don't feel comfortable if I know what weights, where the weight is, how it's distributed, the kind of brakes I have, the CG, if I've maxed out anything, the right hitch, the pins. I mean, I'm on this shit. And if I crash and destroy something, it isn't because I didn't do my due diligence. It's an accident. There's a difference between an accident and a collision. When you go out negligent and you're not familiar with what you have, I see these, they're all over YouTube. People pulling trailers with undersized vehicles. Now, when you go to U-Haul, they've got a very specific formula. You either meet it or you don't. And if you don't, they're not renting you a trailer. They're not even going to give you the option to kill yourself. If you noticed, when I took off out of Michigan, there was a UPS truck driver pulling a trailer like mine, a little shorter. And if you listen to that, I quizzed him quite a bit on his experience in pulling that trailer in winter weather, because I thought maybe this guy knows something that I don't. What do you got to do to make the trailer pass you? I mean, it's just, you can imagine, like, I'm driving down there, I got all my shit from my house in the back. I fuck up, I spin out, the trailer jackknifes, all the shit gets mixed up there like popcorn. I fucked the truck up, it's not drivable. I mean, how do you get out of there? What do you do? Go buy another $22,000 trailer and move it all out of the wrecked one into the new one? I mean, I hope to never find out. Oh, you bought a brisket today? Well, here's the thing on briskets. I mean, and I don't mean to scare you here. There's a million YouTube videos on it, on briskets. Are you going to cook it in a smoker or are you going to cook it in an oven? Which one? Oven or smoker? See, here's the problem with cooking briskets. You really need a decent smoker. It's not going to be one of these tin cans you get at Home Depot. Everything else is easy. Grilling's easy. You can even smoke things. Now, if you said I was smoking pork, it's like, hey, drink a couple beers, fall asleep, get up, and it's done. It's really kind of hard to hurt pork. Brisket's the only one that's takes something. But if you tell me what you're going to cook it in, I'll tell you exactly how to cook it. Yeah, you can do excellent brisket in an oven. Hey, Infalove. You can cook it, actually, the last couple times I've done it, I've finished them off in the oven. Yeah, low and slow, but what you want to do is, I mean, I've experimented with this. First, I want to find out if he's going to try and smoke it or cook it in an oven. Yeah, are you going to cook it? Are you going to cook it in your oven or outside? Brisket's really good, but it's very tough meat. You know, it's actually traditionally a super cheap cut of meat. And the way you make it good is to take forever to cook it. That's the problem. But if you blow the way to cook brisket, you can make a pair of shoes out of it. Hey, Vegas. Oh, here's the way you do brisket. Here's the way you do it, I think. First of all, I'm a big fan of injecting stuff. I don't inject the brisket with anything with salt in it. Make it all salt-free. Even if you use butter or water, of course, there's no salt in it. Butter, and you spin it up in a blender and you inject it about 4 or 5 places, and get some apple cider vinegar in a spray bottle. And get one of those aluminum pans you throw away. Put about 1/8 of an inch of apple cider vinegar in the bottom of it. Inject your brisket, and I hope you have a digital temperature, one that you can leave in there, and cook it at you can count on about an hour per pound, and cook it. The whole trick to brisket is you want to go between 160 and 180 degrees as slow as you can, and put a pan of water in there too. And at 225, it's going to take you quite a while to cook a brisket, but you want to go through 160 to 180 as slow as you can. When you get up there, once you go there, you're not really going to do much more to your brisket. You know, that's where that collagen melts, 160 to 180. And if you're not smoking it, which you're not because it's in an oven, then you're home free after 180. And after 180, you can do whatever you want. If I cook one like that in an oven that I haven't smoked before, I go ahead and put it up to 275, because after 180 degrees, I don't care what the temperature is. I'm home free on liquefying that collagen. So the way I put it in there, I inject it. I use a rub on the top. I'm not into sauces. I use a rub, inject it, spritz it, which is spray that apple cider vinegar sauce about every hour or two. Have some water in the oven. Put that digital thermometer in there and just wait till it clicks up to about 204. Once you reach 180, jack it up from 225 to whatever you feel like. It's not going to matter anymore. It'll be so damn good. Tender. The whole trick to brisket is you don't dry it out and you cook it slow between 160 and 180. Doesn't really matter what you do it head or after. Those are the magic numbers. But I see people, you know, they cook it like a roast beef. Honestly, if you like that kind of meat, if you enjoy, you know, good meat done in an oven right, use chuck roast. It's about 50 cents a pound, and you don't need to worry about any of that bullshit. It's got way more fat in it. It's a better cut of meat, and you don't need to babysit anything. Cook it at whatever you feel like it, because it's going to break down differently than that tough old brisket. I use it, but you get somebody over and they really want smoked brisket because they've been brainwashed into brisket this, brisket that. So I do a brisket, but it's not as good of a quality meat. Those big smoking houses out in Texas, almost all of them that I either read about while I was out there or ate at, use chuck roast, and that's why. Less babysitting. Tastes better. Like, actually, I'm going to smoke 2 prime ribs for people in the next couple days. And it's easy. I mean, because the only one you got to worry about is brisket. There's enough fat in prime rib, which is also why it costs so much more, that it's dispersed in the meat. You don't need to baby it cooking it. Put it in there whatever you want, 350, 400, wherever. I mean, there's still collagen to dissipate, but not much. Nothing like a brisket. Up until, YouTube made brisket famous. That was a crap cut of meat for years, and then YouTube came on, and everywhere you go, it's brisket. Well, it's not so cheap anymore, and I just think there are better options. But you want to keep drying it out and not cooking it too fast are the 2 main deals. And I like dry rubs. They have good ones everywhere now. Sporting goods stores. I get mine at Academy Sports because you can get a big thing of it. And all these brisket dry rubs are basically the same. If you look at the ingredients, they all have the same shit in it. Powdered onion, sea salt, pepper, paprika, powdered garlic, and some other bullshit. They're all about the same. Oh yeah, water helps a lot. Yeah, yep, sure does. The only, like, what I do now is I smoke my briskets up until I get to around 100 for up around 140